Stuart, thanks for your time. It's Wednesday morning, post Chelsea defeat, just before head of the Leeds game. I'm sure we'll get into the Chelsea game and the season in general, but just to start, assess the state of play on and off the pitch so far this season, in your opinion.
I mean, let's be honest, the facts don't lie in terms of our points return. It's not been good enough, and I can't sit here and try and convince you or anyone else otherwise that the league table definitely doesn't lie. And certainly when you get 9 games in as well, it's a good enough chunk of time to sort of assess where you're at. So yeah, the start of the season on the pitch hasn't been great. I still think there's been some positive signs within that, and I think I know we've got good players, and we've got good staff and a good coach, and we've got more than a good chance of getting out of this. We recruited heavily in the summer, and that takes time to gel. Let's not kid ourselves, and doing the amount of churn that we did in the squad, which is big by certainly our standards. It's that can take a bit of time to sort of gel together, and I think it is. But there's definitely, if you take Chelsea away, which I'm sure you'll ask me about, there were shoots of recovery before that in the previous 3 games. Everton away, I thought was a good away performance. I know we lost, and people can say, yeah, you still lost, but it was a decent away performance. Burnley, not many will go there and get a clean sheet, and that was solid. And then Brighton at home, let's be honest, is a 0-0 game. Maybe there's a big chance for each team, but again, solid against a team who I think could have gone top that day if they would have beaten us. So there's been some signs of recovery. There's definitely enough to show us that we can achieve our aims, which is to stay in the league. I think there's been too much noise and negativity around our club, a lot of which has been unfair around, our Norwich given up, they haven't had a go. I think if we look at a few of the truths, we're 11th. We spent the 11th most money in Europe. We invested heavily in our coaching team in the summer to give them new contracts and reward them for the excellent work on the previous 4 years. We've invested further in the infrastructure. We've got a Premier League training ground and facilities. We've got Premier League staff. Our staffing levels are very high. For a club of our size, we leave no stone unturned in terms of preparation for the players. We spend a lot of money on whether it's transport, etc. And so I think when you hear words like Norwich aren't having a go, or they've banked the money and run, they've accepted relegation already, it's both unfair, but more importantly, it's not true. And I think it's important to, I need to put it on record that this is a football club who are having a proper go, who believe we're good enough, believe in our work, believe in our players. Some of the scandalous things which have been said about us are wrong, and yes, the only way to turn that around and prove people wrong is by winning games. We know that. We've all been in the industry long enough to know that. But to say we've not had a go, or to question that we've accepted relegation already after 9 games, is a disgrace. And we need to come back out fighting now, because we've got 2 options. We sit here and we be that nice little Norwich that people can beat up and we don't fight back, or we fight back. And to be honest, we have to demonstrate the latter. We have to come out fighting, starting with Leeds on Sunday. We need everyone here bang at it, whether that's supporters, whether that's staff, whether that's players, because we've got nowhere to hide now. Focus is on us. Everyone's given up. Everyone thinks we're down. Everyone thinks we're the worst team ever. It's up to us to prove people wrong, because we know what's under our bonnet, and that excites us actually. But what we don't need people from within the club, whether that's you guys in terms of the local media, whether it's our fan base. We don't need you giving up on us. We don't need our fans singing songs about how rubbish must you be, we're drawing or something after 5 minutes. We actually need our fans to show a bit of teeth as well, and make Carrow Road a difficult place to play on Sunday, and to see if we can also have our fans coming out fighting and fighting for this club. And we've played 9 games, we've got 29 left. If we're going to give up now, it's going to be a long, hard winter. So my advice to everyone, from the top of the football club all the way through to our supporters is, don't give up on this group of people now. Don't give up on the manager, the staff, the players now. This is a time where, as a community and as a football group of people here, is when we need to come together. We don't need people to come together when we win the league. Anyone can do that. It's now. This is a moment where we find out on Sunday, can Carrow Road be a difficult place for Leeds United to come and play? Can our players be brave enough to put on a performance where you've got to roll up and show people that, all right, we're going to show people here, we're live on TV, there's going to be a full house here. It's like, no, this is it. And I'm excited to see. I'm excited to see how we react to this, because we've been put on the canvas a couple of times, and we either come back up now and we fight back, or we lie down and get beaten up. And I can't accept that.
You're talking about fans. Perhaps it's magnified, losing 7 at Chelsea in the manner of that performance. Do you understand, on a broader season-wide so far, the frustration of your fan base?
Yes and no. I think some of the fan reaction too early, in my opinion, when you look at the fixtures we had at the start, was to start criticising and booing was too early, in my opinion. Say what they want after Chelsea, we deserve everything we get for that, because that performance was diabolical. Does not represent what this football club is, and for the 1,500 fans that we had, who give up their Saturday, travelled a long way, spent a lot of money, that performance was completely unacceptable. And anyone who was in that ground deserves an apology and deserves a reaction this weekend. But what I also would say as well is, you can't just be part of the club and all cheery when things are well. Part of this football club, I believe, who's so connected to its community, is, and have so many fans working within its staff, is also, as a football fan, identifying when your team needs you. And this team needs the supporters right now. And we need a big performance from our supporters on Sunday. Now, we have to do enough on the pitch to warrant that, by the way. We have to start well, we have to be on the front foot, we have to be brave, we have to be aggressive, all of them things. But we then need the fans to back it up. We don't need the fans if it's 0-0 after 20 minutes and someone gives the ball away with a forward pass to start groaning and, oh, here we go again, and suddenly they go quiet and we're getting outsung by 2,500 Leeds fans. We need a big performance from the supporters on the weekend, and we then need to replay that. And if we don't, again, we deserve the criticism and what comes our way. But all I'd say to the fans is, don't give up on us now. We've had 5 years together with this set of people running the club, coaching the club, players who have, let's not forget, have created some incredible moments for our supporters. Don't give up on us now. This is a time where we need to fight and come together. We're going into a run of games which give us some opportunities. It's like, don't give up now. If we don't reward you with a performance, that's fine, and we deserve what flack we get, but don't give up on us.
2 points from 9. Inevitable byproduct to that is a focus on your head coach. Is his job under threat?
No, I think you asked Daniel, no doubt, is he happy at the minute? Of course not. None of us are. It's unacceptable. Unacceptable what happened on Saturday, and it's unacceptable in terms of our points return. None of us want that. We're here to stay in the Premier League and to then thrive in the Premier League. We believe we've got everything to be an established Premier League club, and at the minute we're not demonstrating that on the pitch. But that doesn't come down to one man. We've got 300 staff here. Every single one of them has a massive responsibility to step up. We're now working at a higher level, a harder level. Everyone has to step up. We've got 11 players who go on the pitch every week. A manager can't do anything about a player losing his head and getting 2 yellow cards in 9 minutes and getting sent off when you're right under the cosh. What do you do about that? So this is a time now where this isn't about focusing on one man. This is about focusing on the whole. And as a whole and a collective, and it starts with me, we've not been good enough, and we need to sort that out. And it's not about an individual at this point.
So just to clarify, there wouldn't be any, whether it's yourself, the board, a certain amount of games now that you've got to turn this around?
No, because I think, if we look at Daniel and the guys who've been here, about 210, I think, and we've had bad spells and we've had incredibly good spells within that. And I think as a club, it's important that we stay level. We understand the bigger picture. And at times like this, it's about supporting and being together and trying to get through this, not finger pointing or putting a game on people or you must get this amount of points from the next few games, because football doesn't work like that. We could be absolutely rubbish and beat Leeds on the weekend. We could be brilliant, hit the bar 5 times and lose 1-0. And what do you do then? And so that's where we can't get hooked up on that, and we can't be setting targets of someone's got a game left, a 2 game left, 10 games left, a season left, 2 seasons left. We're fully committed to Daniel. That's why we give him a 4-year contract in the summer. The work he's done at this club has been beyond incredible. I think you don't have to ask the older fan base, some of the football produced, they say their words is the best they've ever seen. I can't comment on that. I've only been here 4 years, so I can only comment on that. Some of the players that have been developed, the culture, the connection with the supporters, etc. To be questioning Daniel at this point, I think would be incredibly unfair.
You touched on recruitment earlier on. Is it very harsh 9 league games in to start questioning that summer recruitment? And I'll talk specifically maybe the 2 wide players, Jolis and Rashid, so not really seeing them starting games in the Premier League. Sargent has started, hasn't scored in the Premier League. Is that harsh in your opinion, as the guy who oversaw that summer recruitment?
No, I don't think it's harsh. I think, but I definitely think it's too early. I think it's you've got to remember the 3 of them came from foreign countries. One of them is 19, the other one of them's 21. These are young players. We normally have our 19-year-olds out on loan in League One in England. So to expect Christos to be playing every week in the Premier League, he wasn't bought for that. He was bought as incredible potential, and potential needs time to nurture itself. And can he come through and make a big impact this season? Yeah, probably he can. But that's not an expectation on him, and the price tag on him is not his fault. And that shouldn't bring any other pressure on him. In terms of Josh, it's tough, I think, at the minute being a striker for our team, because we've had so many games where we haven't had much of the ball, and I challenge any striker in the world to have played up front for us against Chelsea and shown anything other than what Timu and Josh did. So I think it's too early to tell, but it's also not unfair to ask, and I fully respect that, because again, it comes back to, at the minute, no one's doing good enough. There's not one player, one staff member who can, in my opinion, go to sleep at night going, I've done my bit, I've cracked it. Not at all, because if that was the case, we'd be better than where we are, and we have to get better.
We're sitting here an hour or 2 after the accounts for the financial year came out, showing just over a 20 million profit. Largely, I think it's fair to say, the player sales, not just the last summer with Emi Buendia, prior to that maybe Ben Godfrey, Jamal Lewis. Does that underline the importance of the work you've done in terms of the sales in the self-funded model, and also getting Emi done as early as you did in the summer? Clearly that's been reflected in the accounts that have come out.
Yeah, I think, Emi sale, I've spoken about it before, helped us do a lot of work that we did in the summer, and that was great and very sort of welcome, as much as we didn't want to lose a good player. When someone tells you very clearly he will not be playing for the club again, see you later then, mate. We don't need you, thank you very much. No one's bigger than the football club. So I think if we look at what's going on in the world, the club's in a healthy state. It's in a healthy state in terms of infrastructure, accounting, staff levels, squad. The one thing's wrong at the minute, we're bottom of the Premier League with 2 points. And that's a bit which we need to address. I think if we're sat here 12th, I think everyone's lauding our model. Everyone's saying that, people who went off to try and do their own league 3 months ago, where everyone's now forgotten about that, would be going, that's a disgrace. Clubs need to be run properly. Clubs go and bust in the Football League, left, right and centre. I think the club's in a healthy state, and we should be proud about that. But to be honest, I would take us being in a worse state and in a better position in the league, because, we've talked for 5 years since I've been here, about the model and whatever. That also can't become an excuse. We've invested heavily in our infrastructure, we've invested heavily in our squad, we've invested heavily in our staffing levels, and not to the level of Man United and Chelsea, but if we want to be Man United and Chelsea, my advice to every staff member or player or supporter, well, go and work for them. If you want to spend 100 million on a player, you're going to have to go and work for them. If I want to do that as a sporting director, I need to try and become good enough to be the sporting director of a club who can do that. But when we look at our competition, and that's where we can only judge ourselves against, the facts are, we have been very ambitious compared to our competitors, and at the minute we're underachieving because of that, and that's where we need to turn it around. And the good thing is we know we can, and we know what we've got, and we're not sat here. 2 years ago was very different, and that, again, another thing where I was like 2 years. No, it's not. 2 years ago we were miles off. We were not good enough, and I know people can look at the performances in a minute and go, well, it don't look much better, and I get that, completely get that. Watch that Chelsea performance. I'd sound like an idiot saying we're miles better than 2 years ago, because we didn't lose 7-0 2 years ago to anyone. But 2 years ago we didn't have a go. We made a very conscious decision. We were honest about that, as we always are, and we always try and be with our supporters and staff and everyone. We were honest enough to go, no, we're going to use this money to help build our infrastructure to look much more like a Premier League club, because at that point it looked closer to League One than Premier League club. And that's what we did. And there's not one regret within that, because 2 years ago everyone's saying we need to be Sheffield United. I'm not sure people would say that today, because they stayed up for a season. Huddersfield the year before stayed up for a season, and we were not willing to go all in just to try and stay up for 1 year, because it's like, well, what happens the next year? So we made real conscious decisions on what we did, and we communicated them, and we're honest about that. This summer was very different. We've got a squad together full of internationals. We've invested heavily in staff and infrastructure, etc. So we've had a go, and we know we're good enough. We know we've got enough quality to stay in this league. Doesn't mean we'll stay in it, because it's a ruthless league, and Bournemouth 2 years ago got relegated by, let's be honest, goal line technology not working at Villa Park. You can get relegated by goal difference in this league by a point. Look at Leicester not quite getting in the Champions League by 20 minutes to go of the season they were in it. That's why we love football, right? It's a fine margins. But the fact is, we have got enough to be right in that fight to stay in this league, and that's why for us it's very different. But we need to show that on the pitch, and we need to get people to believe that with our actions, not just words, because it's easier to talk about it. We need to deliver performances and results now.
Two more if I can. Just January and potential business. Will you look to do something, or will that be heavily dependent on where you are in terms of league status?
I don't think it'll be particularly busy for us. I think it's too early to tell at the minute, because I still think so many of ours are settling in. Take Ozan Kabak, for example. Prior to him starting here against Watford, he played 45 minutes since April. That is hard to come up to speed, especially at a level which is, let's be honest, outrageously high. So I think with so many, we're still trying to find out where they're at and where they are, and they're trying to adapt to the pace of this league. So yeah, it's too early at the minute. But would I expect massive business? Absolutely not, no.
Final one for me. We obviously touched on Daniel's future earlier on, your own future. We know the contractual situation, end of the current season. You said in the summer, not an issue if it was internally, that I'd deal with it. Anything you can give us in terms of an update with your own future?
No, but I think it'll be sorted very soon. I think, within the next month, we've got an international break in November, where we'll sort that out. And all I'd say to people at the minute is, it's not an issue internally. If it is externally, I can't control that, or we can't control that, but it's not an issue internally. And at the minute, it's actually not important. What's important at the minute is Leeds United on Sunday, and us putting on a performance and showing that we've grown a pair, and that we can win a game of football at this level and bring belief back into our supporters and everyone else. That's the only thing which matters at the minute. Whether I'm here or gone is irrelevant, because the only thing which matters is a football club, and we have to do everything we can to make sure that this club is as healthy and as successful as it can be. Whether I'm here or not is irrelevant.